guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be coming at you with another cooking video. I'm going to be making a spicy jollof rice. So for all you jollof rice lovers, please stay tuned, and without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe at the end of this video. Mwah.
Welcome back, guys. First of all, I think we'll start this video off by going through all the ingredients that we'll use today. You'll see that I've got some onions here, so you definitely need some onions for this recipe. I'm using 3 large onions and 2 shallots. I'm using shallots because they're quite sweet in flavour. Next, we're going to go and use some fresh tomatoes. I like to use fresh tomatoes, it gives it a deeper flavour. And we're going to also add some sweet bell pepper and some hot Scotch bonnet. I've got 1.5 Scotch bonnets here, but you can tailor it to your taste. You can use more or less. But we've got some peppers, tomatoes and Scotch bonnets for this recipe. You will also need some ginger and some garlic. Maggie cubes, I've got Crayfish Maggie cubes here, and some Bayleaves too. For the quantity of rice that I'll be making today, I'm going to use 2 Maggie cubes and about 3 to 4 Bayleaves, but you can tailor the amounts to your taste. You'll need some tomato puree. You'll also need some sunflower oil, and for this recipe today I'll be using curry powder. You'll need some sea salt for this recipe also. And the main ingredient to use is the rice. I've got 3 cups of basmati rice, so let's get started. We're going to start this recipe off by sauteing our onions, so you need to slice all your onions and all your shallots. I've got a deep pan and I've added half a cup of the sunflower oil, so all we need to do is add our onions and start to saute them. The aim of this process, guys, is to caramelize the onions, and that brings out the sweetness in flavour, and honestly it's a game changer. So try and caramelize your onions before you make your stews. So we're going to add our ginger at this point, so slice your ginger up and add it to the pot, and just stir until the onions are golden in colour, soft in texture, and the quantity is reduced. So basically we're trying to sweat the onions down, bring out the sweetness, and then automatically they will reduce in quantity, and that's what we're looking for. So as you can see, my onions are looking nice and golden brown. Keep stirring until you feel like you've got the right colour and texture, and then we'll move on to the next stage. Here I've added our ginger and onion mix to a blender. I also added the garlic, and we're just going to blend this to a fine paste. You now want to add this paste to the pot that we were already using. You don't need to add any more oil, just add the paste and let it bubble. Basically we're going to refry this again for a small amount of time, only a minute or 2, because we've already sauteed it. And in the meantime we'll move on to the next step. Right, sweet peppers, hot peppers and tomatoes into a blender, and we're going to blend this also into a fine paste. Back to our pot with the onion mix. We give that a quick stir and then add our seasoning ingredients. So at this point we want to season the paste to make sure the flavour's good. So in goes the bay leaves, in goes the Maggie cubes. Again, I'm using Crayfish Maggie cube. I've got 2 of those. Stir that down. And at this point I'm going to include my salt. I'm using sea salt for this recipe, but you can use table salt or pink salt, whatever salt that you prefer. I'm using about 2 tablespoons of salt here. I've gone quite heavy with the seasoning at this point because we will be adding tomato puree, our blended tomatoes and peppers, water and also rice, so that kind of dilutes the flavour. So you need to make sure that your stew base has a good flavour in before you add all these other ingredients, otherwise you're just going to have a tasteless jollof, and that's not what we're looking for. So just keep mixing that until all the flavour has been incorporated. then we'll just add our next ingredient, which is the tomato puree. So I've used the whole tube of tomato puree here. Add it to the onion mix with the seasoning, and again, just mix that together nicely. Make sure everything is incorporated. So make sure you're mixing properly. Heat, by the way, should be on a medium heat. We are frying the stew base, so medium to high heat definitely with this. Next, I'm adding in my curry powder, so I'm seasoning some more. So in goes our curry powder. And just mix thoroughly. Make sure the curry powder is well incorporated into the stew. And then just give it a little taste at this point. Make sure that your flavour is exactly what you're looking for. Salt and seasoning, make sure that you've got enough in there. And for me, this is just perfect, so I don't need to add any more seasoning to this mix. You'll just leave that to fry for a couple of minutes, and when you can see that the oil has come to the surface, then you know it's time to add your next ingredient. And our next ingredient is the tomato and pepper mix that we blended earlier on. So just include all of that mix, and then again stir. Make sure you're incorporating all the flavours together nicely. Continue to cook on a high heat for about 10 to 15 minutes. Taste for salt and wait for the oil to rise to the surface. As you can see, the oil is at the top. Now my jollof stew is ready. I'm happy with the consistency of it. So I'm just going to add in my rice. I've already washed this rice off camera. So make sure you wash your rice before you put it in. And in goes all the 3 cups of rice. After you've added all your rice, you want to now stir the rice and incorporate it with the stew thoroughly. You want to do this on a high heat. The aim at this point is to basically cook the rice and incorporate the flavors before you add any water. So don't be adding any water at this stage. Make sure you cook the rice for at least 5 to 10 minutes before you add water. That way each rice grain absorbs the flavor. As soon as you put the water in, you dilute it. So we are going to put this on a high heat and leave this to cook for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then come back and then add our water. Now when it's this consistency, it's like really thick, that's when you add your water. Do not be adding water to your jollof rice too early. And make sure the water that you're adding is already hot. So I've boiled the kettle. I'm going to go in with some water now. Not too much, just enough to cover the rice. Just enough to cover the rice. Let it come to the boil, which is boiling now. And once it's boiling, get your foil, cover the pot with foil, add the lid, and turn the heat right down. Turn it down, so it's basically, you want the rice to cook on its steam. Okay, so I'm turning it right down. You can see the steam coming up, and leave that to cook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that for 10 minutes, come stir it, and then leave it for another probably 10 minutes, and then it'll be ready. So okay, 10 minutes later, I'm going to stir the rice gently. The purpose of this is to make sure that the rice at the bottom of the pan doesn't burn, and that the rice is cooking all the way through. So as you can see, the water has evaporated and we're still left with like a thick sauce that our rice is cooking in. It looks like risotto at this point, and that's exactly the consistency that we're looking for after 10 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to now cover this again and leave it for a further 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so exactly 12 minutes later, I've come to check on my rice and it's ready. It looks delicious. It smells gorgeous in my kitchen. There's nothing better than a nice fresh pot of jollof rice. So this is the consistency, the colour and the texture that we're looking for. And I just cannot wait to eat. Yum. Okay, for a final step, I'm going to leave the pot uncovered on a high heat just to create that smoky taste. And here are the results. A nice juicy pot of jollof. Serve this with chicken, fish, salad, whatever you like. I'm having mine with a nice bowl of fresh salad. As you can see, it's piping hot and I just cannot wait to tuck in. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to hit that like button. Also, comment down below on what you enjoy eating your jollof rice with. Don't forget to subscribe also. See you guys in the next video.